What up, guys? ThePartyKnife here. What are you doing? What are you doing? Have you supplied a negative corona test? I don't think you have. Have you heard anything about this new strain coming out of the grapevine? Are you absolutely out of your mind? You're watching videos and you haven't even supplied a negative corona test down in the comment section? How irresponsible are you? Huh? Do you even know anything about this new strain of coronavirus? I don't think so. Did you know that there's absolutely zero evidence, zero, suggesting that this virus can't be transmitted over the internet? Did you know that? I don't think you knew that. You didn't know that, did you? Huh? Zero evidence suggesting that it can't actually be transmitted through the internet. We don't have any evidence suggesting that it can do that. So how dare you sit there without a negative corona test and watch my video? Are you absolutely out of your mind? That is irresponsible, unacceptable, and and that was my best impression of pretty much everyone in the Danish government. No. Don't get me wrong, coronavirus is a serious thing, but there are literally still some people that are absolutely on both sides, just to be clear. But that's not what you're here for. You're here for Vermintide. Convocation of Decay. Yes. As always, I prepared the video. Now, what's best? What do you guys prefer? I don't know. Whee! Let's do this one for now. And let's get started. Now, obviously, Convocation of Decay is a hard map. There's no doubt about it. And even after watching this video, it's still going to be a hard map. There's only so much you can do. When it comes to the end event, there are definitely certain tips that's going to help you increase your chances of success. But with that said, no small amount of mechanical skill is still going to be required from at least someone on the team. But hopefully you guys will manage. Now this time, I've tried out a new mod that showcases a bunch of the triggers in the game. Now this can be really useful, since it's sort of easier to visualize for you guys exactly where and when and where the triggers are active. Now the first tome is located right there. And the first thing I want to say is that you definitely want to have at least one person check all of these extra rooms, because there's quite often loot there. And again, until you are sort of stacked up on that, that's always something you want to go for. Now the first boss trigger is here. Now in this area you want to watch out, right? Because minions, they drop down from up here, which means one moment you're clear, and the next moment you have a storm vermin or a raider right behind you, heavy attacking your face, right? So don't drop your guard here at any point. That's always healing here. That's those are fixed random spawns, right? Because not always the same in proportion, but there's always healing there. And one thing you can do here, if you get one of the harder bosses, like a chaos spawn for example, is the person who aggroes it has to move in a circle here, because if you start moving forward here, you're locking yourself in, right? Unless you move all the way to the outside area, or sort of to the area when it opens up. So if you get a boss here, you fall back to that room we were just in, and try to rotate it around best you can, clear everything out, and then fight the boss. Because you don't want to fight a chaos spawn here, okay? Always use the fighter barrel, this can be very useful here, and always check this room here as well. Quite often you'll find potions in here, so that's definitely worth it in the beginning of maps.
These stairs look tight.
And minions can obviously spawn through all those holes. And this is the first spawn area. Or it might actually be the
Humans
second.
have always caged what they do not understand.
No, it is the first. It's the first. Now, the orange spheres you see are patrol triggers, and the red ones are boss triggers. Now, you don't actually have to touch that little thing in order to trigger it. Like, assuming you just walk past here, it's going to trigger, regardless. Now, the sort of line you can see, that shows where the thing will spawn when someone activates the trigger, right? Now, this is a fixed spawn, so there's always 100% of the time there's going to be a health pot in that location, unless it's a no pickup speed. But in any other scenario, there's always going to be a health pot there, so always pick that up. Now you can see this is one of the boss spawn locations, so it's going to potentially come from that side. Here you have 2 more triggers, which are going to spawn on the opposite side. Again, right here. Now, if you get one of these early bosses, but after the tunnels, right? So once you sort of passed out into the open here, you want to drag it back to this area here and try to fight it. And like, not in there. That was a bad example. There's usually items in there, so check that. But you want to fight the boss around here. In that open area down here. This is a good place to fight the initial horde as well. Since again, corners are always advantageous in that sense. And once you sort of progress to this next area here, here's the thing, right? All the items are below, but the strategically best position is above. And there's always a fixed potion spawn down here. Now, it varies which of the 3 sort of types, potion types it is, but there's always, again, 100% of the time, there's going to be a potion there. So that's also a location that you always want to check. And sort of optimally, it's okay to move down below, right? That's fine. But if you then get an ambush or a horde, you want to immediately go to the closest ladder and go back up here, because you simply have better positioning up here. It's harder for specials to surround you. It's harder for anything really to surround you. Plus you have the advantage of not ending up in the water, which slows you down and sort of makes it hard to dodge, right? So it's okay to move down here, but just as soon as you then hear a horde or an ambush, your first instinct should be to move up immediately before you start fighting. Straight up, always worry about positioning first, kill stuff later, if you're serious about winning at least, right? And if you've been struggling. Now, specials obviously come from all of these sides, so watch out for that. Here is another patrol/boss trigger. And again, if you trigger that, you won't know until you're around here. And you don't want to fight the boss or patrol for that matter here, so you drag it back out into the open, and you clear it out there. Unless you have a battle wizard, and then you could fight a patrol here theoretically, but you get the point. Once you get this one, click the button. Always push the button and get the elevator. Stuff will spawn here from those holes. Everywhere where you see a black hole, that's a potential minion spawn. I'm just turning off the infinite pots. Now here, you see there's a patrol trigger there, but really what you want to always do, as the first thing when you take the elevator down, is notice the symbol right here, and sort of put that in your head, right? You can call that one the claw or the squid, depending on who you are. But regardless of which icon it is, you take note of that immediately, and you remember that. So technically there are 2 ways to do this, right? Or there are 2 scenarios. There's a scenario where you want the Grimoire, and there's a scenario where you don't want the Grimoire, right? And in either case, one way to do it is to have half the team upstairs, half the team downstairs, in order to check the icons on the doors. But actually, that's not necessary, if you think about it, right? Because you know which is the correct switch, right? That's the one all the way over there. So if you want the Grim, you intentionally go for the wrong switch. Now, you potentially have to click the wrong switch as much as 3 times. That depends on luck. Sometimes, the first time you click the wrong one, the Grim will open. Other times, again, that door over there opens, you have to fight some spawns. In this case, I got it in my 2nd attempt, but you'll always get it at least on the 3rd. So if it hadn't opened there, it would have opened on the 3rd. You're gonna get some berserkers there. And in order to get the Grimoire, you just jump up here and click the hidden button. And another hidden door over here will open, and then you find the Grimoire right in here, right? But So let's say you've done that, or that you didn't want the grimoire, and so you ignored, you didn't do all this. Then you know what the first button is going to be, right? Because you saw that on the door. Now, if you think about it, now you have a 50-50% chance of getting the next door right. And if you get it wrong, then you know which one is the right. It's the right one, right? So what you can do is you can impress all your teammates by pretending like you're a psychic, and you can go, I don't need to, guys, I don't even need to see the icons. I already know. And half the time, it's going to be super impressive. Because you know which one is the first. So you have a 50-50 of guessing the second, and regardless of whether you guess right or wrong, you will know which one is the third.
That's better.
In this case, I guessed right. So, again, just based off of luck, half the time you're going to get it right. And people will be like, how did you know? And you can just be like, well, yeah, you see, I'm actually a wizard. So for that reason, you don't actually need to split up the team, which is safer, right? Worst case scenario, you have to click 4 buttons instead of 3. That's not bad, right? So that is the preferred method, especially for solo queue. So once you get to this area here, and when you want to watch out actually, once you open all 3 doors and you get up, there's a bunch of special triggers. So you're going to have a bunch of specials here, most likely from both sides, so watch out for that. And usually what I like to do here is I like to move through this area. If you get sort of a horde or, an ambush, this is the first default spot, so this is where you'll fall back to. For now, right? For now, this is the best area, because you, again, have everything isolated into a 90-degree angle, even separated even more due to the gap in the middle. You check for items there, you check for items here. If you get a boss here, you fight it in the open here. There's not much, there's not much else you can do. Now, I wanted to showcase a boss spawn, so I just put 1000% on my boss damage. Now, you can actually grab this tome right here through, so you don't actually have to go to the other side. Just a little, time-saving tip. So once you get to this area here, the next default spot is going to be up here. And this is an area where it's important that you see that yellow box, right? Now, what that indicates essentially is it's a point of no return, not just for you, but for minion spawns. So if you drop down and your entire team drops down, and a sort of a special spawns after that, it's going to come from the front or the right side, right? Now, you always want to be careful before dropping down here, okay? You don't want to do that until you're absolutely sure that everyone is sort of ready for the go, because this is one of those spots, sort of like in the Dark Omens map, where you got to that narrow crevasse and you wanted to just rush through it. It's the same here, okay? If you haven't had a horde in a while, wait for it here, fight, clear it out from up here, where you have an advantageous position and only 2 angles to worry about. Because the moment you jump down there, you want to keep moving until you get to the next open area. Because you're completely locked in down there. Completely locked in with 2 really, sort of long, narrow channels. And what that means is between you and not getting locked in is quite a bit of distance. So if you sort of stay around here and wait for too long, or start running over here because, oh, there was a barrel, and then before you know it, and again, there's a boss trigger here, so you're going to possibly get a boss the moment you jump down. And you can imagine this is not a great place to fight a boss, along with elites and specials. So if you get the boss, really regardless, but especially if you get the boss, rush ahead and get past the boss, fight it here. This is a way better spot to fight the boss in, way better, okay? So use the area here, just kite the boss around. It's also a great place to wait for, even if you don't have a boss, wait for the next horde, fight it here. Because again, this is, you have both isolated angles and room to sort of, and room to move, to dodge around, right? Which is a good combination. Now, this little jump skip here. I think I'll show you guys a couple of more times. It's like the key to success to this jump, and I still fail it sometimes, but the key to success is to realize that the lamp, the hanging part of the lamp, isn't physical. So you don't have to worry about getting around that lamp. So you can actually just focus on, you know, getting a narrow angle and jump through the lamp instead. Don't get stuck down there, because there's only one way up. And again, you have this long narrow path where if there are too many minions on one side, there's only one way out of there, one way up. And ladders are not great when you're surrounded by minions. So it's not a very particularly good place to drop down. So watch out for that, especially again because you can have both boss again here and a patrol. You don't want to fight a patrol down in that area there.
I walk beyond the light.
Now there's a little hidden item spawn area in the back here. You don't have, like, if you're good on items, you don't have to go out of your way to check the area. But if you're low, if you're like someone is grey and you don't have any health, if your shade doesn't have a Kong pod, you go check the area before you move on. It's worth it.
It may be that Helmgart is not for
Now,
saving.
try to notice when you get to this area here that sort of you go to the hole and then you look left, right? Then you're sort of you're arranged in the correct way. Now, when you're arranged like I am here when I jump down, then the direction you want to move once you jump down is backwards. So again, if you just follow sort of the angle of the hole,
No idea what
so you
teamwork
get into the
entails.
you get into the room here, and then you do like this, right? And then straight away you rush to the backside here. The backside is the best place to fight. And now what happens in this area so often, and what is again so annoying when you're playing Onslaught especially, is there are so many holes in the ceiling. And you want to be aware of that. You see all of these black holes. Now there's a key spawn, you know, there where I grabbed it. There's one where I just was there. Believe there's another key spawn area over here. There's another key spawn area. And I think there's a fourth spawn location as well. I don't remember where. I think it's somewhere here in the middle, right? I think it's there. But those are the four key, potential key spawn locations. And you need the key if you want to grab the next Grimoire. But see, these holes up here are the ones you want to watch out for, because specials will drop down right behind you, right? And all of this water slows you down, makes it hard to continuously kite and dodge minions. And so the best spot in this room would be in the middle, because that's where there's the most land. But the problem is then, you know, stuff can come from literally every single side. So personally, I prefer to clear out the worst from here. There's a spot like right above you here, but nonetheless, if you're aware of that, then at least your back is clear, right? So you clear out this room, fight the boss if there's a boss, get to this area here. Again, that's a patrol trigger, which happened to trigger. And when you get this patrol trigger, it's quite often gonna come up the staircase here. And again, a staircase is no place to fight a patrol. So if I were to do this and aggro it, again, I would fight it in the back here, right? Possibly even if it was a chaos patrol and you had to, drag it all the way into the open area, into the big room if you have to. And check all of these corners here. Now, assuming you picked up the key, you simply jump up here, do a little curve jump there.
Dusk and shadow.
And it's a good idea to either do this as a two-man or to have someone go back into the open room and sort of, you know, cover you when you jump down, right? So you don't get wrecked by an assassin or some shit like that. And of course, every single time you get to this, you all know it. It's my favorite part about this map. I've said it so many times. And it's a really good way to practice your curve jumps, right? Just saying. You don't have to do it. But you're awesome if you do.
Filthy, of course.
It's not as hard as it looks once you get the... I mean, if you just picked up the Grimoire, maybe you're not the right person to do it. But... And remember to check the back as well here now. Once you get to the bottom here, there is a... what the hell am I doing? I don't know. Make sure you check the back here, because there's an art spawn as well. Back here. And yeah, I don't know if you saw, but there was a red trigger right there on the bottom of the staircase, right? Right over there. And if you get that boss, you have a choice to make. And you have to make it fast. You either get your ass up the staircase and into the room up there and fight the boss there, or you rush forward. That's another option. It's also, one possibility is that someone takes aggro on the boss, starts to aggro slowly up the staircase, and then jumps down. That way you can drag, that way everyone can, be in the small area in the bottom of the staircase. And sort of one person drags the boss a little bit up and jumps down, if that makes sense. You don't have to go all the way up, just like a little bit. That's enough to get the boss on the other side of you in the tunnel, and that way you and your team can safely... I just felt like doing it again. And that way you and your team can safely move out to the next open area and fight the boss there, because you don't want to fight bosses in small enclosed areas, especially if it's something like a Chaos Spawn or a Minotaur. And here we have the last boss trigger, which isn't a problem really, because, I mean, it can be, but at least here you don't have to hurry in order to get to a decent spot. Now, I just thought I'd check out this area. As far as I know, nothing can spawn in this area here. They said they opened it up due to some sort of bug. Screenshot. But I don't know, I think it gonna have something to do with the Chaos Wastes, but that's just my 10 cents. I don't know if that's the case, just to be clear, pure speculation. No. And I found out that there's a room in here. No room in here, but a room in here. No. Now, but yeah, don't go into that area while you're fighting. That's stupid. But yeah, this is where that last boss trigger spawns. Here you have the final tome. So that's all 3 tomes and 2 grims we've seen now. You probably already knew them, but just in case. Now, what you see down there is the final patrol trigger that you really want to watch out for. Also, before you drop down this area here, fight the next horde here. Take the fight up here, it's safer. That way, once you drop down, worst case scenario, you only have to deal with the patrols. Which is bad enough, because your positioning is automatically horrible once you drop down from here, right? Check around here, there's art and items, so make sure you do the rounds. Again, always worth it. You want to maximize your initial sort of conditions for the final end event, right? Because this is hands down one of the hardest end events in all of the regular base maps. And for that reason, you want to have the optimal conditions to beat said end event, right? So make sure you're stacked all on items.
Down these steps.
Now, just understanding that I always find it interesting to look at the geometry of areas. But once you're down here, you only have to worry about a patrol. But if you get a Chaos Patrol on that trigger right there, then you want to try and not aggro it. Now, I don't suggest that you jump down here immediately, but it's good to know that there is an area down here and that, you can take this ladder up here, but you can't get back up from that area there. At least not in that end, only over here. So this is a bad place to jump down unless you cleared everything out first. There is a potential art spawn, I believe, and a potential health pot spawn down there. So for that reason, it can be worth, if you're not maxed out already, one person can drop down there once you've cleared out all the way over to the ladder that you get up from. Once you're there and everything is clear, then you can do it. Because otherwise, again, you risk getting trapped down there, you risk getting pushed over the edge, and that's just not optimal. This is where the final patrol spawns, if you trigger, if that patrol triggers. And that's the trigger you saw over here. And that patrol is gonna patrol up here. So quite often, people don't see it. You hear it, but you don't see it. So you really want to watch out for that, again, because if it surprises you, right, if it sort of sneaks up on you, then you're in trouble. Like, if you aggro the Chaos Patrol, if it's one of those silent ones, right, and it, aggroes you right there, you're in trouble. Even as a good player, you might be in trouble. Because Chaos Warriors, I don't know if you've noticed, but they can push you pretty far. So, and on Kata, chaos patrols are pretty large. So, if you're on such a narrow piece of of ground, then you're possibly going to be screwed.
Brains, they've wandered off again.
It's actually a beautiful map. This whole area, I mean, no. I think it's the least pretty map in the game, except for this area here. The reason, because Convocation of Decay has been my least favorite map in the game ever since the game started. Like all the way back when the end events was a piece of cake, like before they sort of overtuned it slightly. Back then the end event was really not that difficult compared to any other map. And even back then I just felt like it was so grayish and boring, walking, you know, in a sewer compared to so many other maps. But this area here, you gotta give them, it's beautiful. And it sort of reminds you of that ghost, you know, underground ghost mountain city in Lord of the Rings. What up, Bob? How you doing, my friend? How are you? Oh, the perspective on that. Bob, for fuck's sake, there we go. There we go. Let's skip that. Move on to the relevant bits. This is a fixed ammunition spawn, so there's always going to be an ammo spawn over there. But unlike a lot of other end events, you're not guaranteed any healing here. So the healing was the healing that you picked up earlier. That's sort of what counts as the end event healing here. So don't waste it unless you're sure, you know, clear everything out, then drink your healing. Don't drink it as soon as you get there. Clear stuff out, then drink the healing so you know how much you have, so that again you have everything maxed out for the end event. And fight the final horde here if you have to, and make sure you fill up your ammo. Now, here we are. So what to do? What to do? Yes.
They have no
What do I
idea
do
what
about this?
teamwork entails.
Yes, they have no idea what teamwork entails, said the elf. No one has any idea how teamwork works on this end event. And that's literally true. No one has any idea how teamwork works for this end event. I don't know why. It's like no one has any clue what to do in this end event. It is a hard one, to be fair. But I also feel like people are just really bad at this. Like, it is hard, but it's almost like people at the same time with it being hard, people play worse. If that makes sense, teamwork-wise. It's like people really easily feel isolated. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to recognize the drop-down spot. So you want to know, look behind you, so that you visually know what direction is the direction you jump down from. That's really important, because that's where your teammates are gonna spawn if they die, okay? So it's really important that you know exactly where that is in relation to yourself, okay? That's where you're going after the end event. And so yeah, make sure as soon as you drop down that you look behind you and just visualize that's where people spawn. Cannot stress the importance of that. And the map rotation, so the rotation direction is always left once you drop down, okay? Once you drop down, you always go clockwise. Always, okay? Now, the rotation you want to do when you drop down goes something like this, okay? So you want to use the staircases, okay, as drop-down points with an animation between you and the minions. This is one of the most dangerous areas, because I see people so often, they accidentally go left here, and they get trapped. If you go left here, you're trapped, okay? There's no way out. So as soon as you see that, you have to go right. If you go left, you're dead, unless your ultimate comes off cooldown, right? Now here you can sort of do two things. I don't want to activate the end event yet, but I'll show it soon. So you can sort of jump, you know, hit the edge, then jump down in order to confuse the minions, trying to get you there, and then, you know, trying to get as many of these sort of barriers in between you and the minions. Especially if you're only one or two people that are still alive. You can, if you get good, actually do that jump right there. Again, just another barrier between you and the minions. But this is sort of the rotation you want to do. You want to mix it up, however, you know, however you can manage, right? So, for example, this staircase, you don't have to get up the staircase if you don't feel comfortable with dodge dancing up, right? I could do this in my sleep, okay? So many times, I've done it so many times, where it's like I don't have to look where I'm dodging. But if you can't do that, then skip that particular one, right? So it's a bit easier here, because it's a little bit, you know, it's a bit straighter, right? So it's easier to utilize. But yeah, doing that rotation is incredibly important. And if you can't rest people, don't ever start going the opposite direction, ever. Because just one person doing it can screw the whole team dynamic up, okay? So if you drop down, the moment you're down here, you only go clockwise. Okay, that's important. You try to rest one person, and if that's all you can grab, then you do a whole rotation, grab the next person, okay? Again, the thing about end events is if one person can stay alive long enough to rest other people, then you're gonna get it sooner or later. Now, as for the actual circle here, Eye of Sauron! So, guys, in case everything goes wrong, there is a little bit of a secret trick here. You know how you can use a movement ability and then you can block, which stops you, right? With, like you do with the Zealot or the Foot Knight. Like this doesn't work with the Foot Knight because he can't move in air. But you can actually get to these platforms here, and I only suggest doing this as a last resort. You want to do it legitimately if you can, but if everything goes to shit, this is a box spot where you can actually stay inside the circle. And it works for the three pillars with magic spheres on them. Minions can't actually get you here. Now they can hit you, so you still gotta be careful. If there's a Chaos Warrior, you still have to block, right? And assassins can still jump you, so it's not a, you know, I can just stand here and now we win, right? That's not how it works. But it can be useful in worst case scenarios. Now remember, technically you only need one person in the circle to win the map. So if there's only one person comfortable, the rest can do rotations if needed, right?
There falls a sorcerer, eaten from within by his own ritual.
One person should never be down. If one person drops down, I suggest you drop down with them, because otherwise it's going to be really hard for them to get back up. This is another area. Now here I once thought you were inside the circle, but I don't think you are. You are actually outside the circle. But it's a really good spot that's easy to get to for your ranged DPS classes, right? Your Waystalkers, your Huntsmen, your Engineer that sort of struggle to stay alive in the circle. Put them there for the first half of the boss fight at least, because it's a great spot to them, so they don't have to worry about melee, and they can then stand there and shoot specials. Now specials are gonna spawn from almost all sides, but they're not gonna spawn from there, and they're also not gonna spawn from the direction you came from. So those are two directions you don't have to worry about when it comes to jumping assassins or gunners, right? You have to worry about there, you have to worry about over there, don't have to worry about there, right? Because like they take these very fixed paths, and you can use, whenever you hear an assassin, if you hear the direction it comes from, you can use one of these pillars to defend yourself. And it's also important to note that you should always be rotate, even when you're up on the thing here. Try to do rotation. It doesn't matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise up here. It just matters that the whole team does it in the same direction. And maybe I should also mention that the pond in the middle doesn't deal damage. It just drains drains your stamina, which is quite significant because that makes it impossible to block at a certain point. It slows you down, slows your dodge distance, and drains your stamina. Now again, one of the best rotation things you can do. Whoops! This is not a box spot, to be clear. Minions can crawl, sort of jump up here and fight you. But again, you can use it as, if you're playing a handmaiden or a zealot, you can use it as an extra tool to stay alive for just long enough that you can possibly rescue your teammates, right? That's what I would use this spot for example, if you're getting completely overwhelmed. Also, it just looks good. Look at the orb. It's glowing. The glowing orb! Whoops. Eye of Sauron! Yeah, I was fucking around a bit. I forgot to cut that out. I'm sorry. But I think that is about it. Like, the most important thing about Convocation of Decay: stay in the circle for as long as you feel comfortable. As soon as you're like, I'm gonna die if I stay here, voluntarily drop down. Drop down as soon as you have to. Call it out in advance if you have to. If you're like, alright guys, I think I have to drop down, then stay for as long as you can and then drop down. Like, guys, I'm down, I'm down. Then you drop down so your team knows in advance that, oh shit, okay, in a moment we might have to drop down. Because you don't wanna isolate anyone. That's what happens so often. If one person gets isolated or dies, or so try to prevent anyone getting isolated. If one person falls down, one other person should jump down with him, protect him, help get back up. If you have to, in the worst case scenario, have one person in the circle, three people doing rotation. Because that way, again, if you have someone a shade, for example, with the invis 45%, or maybe you just have a really heavy iron breaker, then you really only have to worry about special spawns hitting you, right? Disablers. So those are the best two tactics, I would say. Make sure you agree with your team ahead of time what the tactic is. Because some people prefer that as soon as one person drops out of the circle, everyone drops down. That's one tactic. That is one tactic. And then you all four fight, stay alive, get back up. I don't think that's the best tactic, because you don't make progress that way. I think the best tactic is when one person drops, one more should. And whenever someone dies, especially when someone dies up on the circle, don't try to revive them unless you're absolutely sure about it. Unless you're absolutely certain you can do it, it's better to leave them, okay? Leave them, wait until they respawn. Do that rotation, and try if you can, like all you need to do, really, all you need to do, right? But in order to prevent failure is to make sure that you can survive one rotation without using your ultimate, right? Because quite often you need your ultimate to do the revive, to actually, you know, safely do that. Not always, but quite often, right? Depending on the hero you're playing. So you need to be able to do one of those rotations without using your ultimate, so it can be off cooldown. When you get to the area, you res up your teammate, and they start rotating as well. Then you do another rotation if you have to, because if you try to res everyone at once, quite often it just ends up, you know, it ends up that the third person you try to res, and then you get double Chaos Warriors, and now everyone is trapped because no one moved. It's better to just get someone up safely, do a rotation, get the next one up, and you know, on the second rotation, you're two people who can get someone up. So if you only have time to get one up, do a rotation, get the two others up, and then you can move up, okay? That's my phone ringing, so Är det Mikael? Why are you calling me? Yeah, but will you guys please delete my number? Thanks. You have a good day, sir. Mikael. I don't want to be a stereotype, but that dude sounded so Indian that it's hard to... I'm not even kidding, but Michael, the reason I'm calling you today is that... No. And lastly, guys, if you're a boss, practice your ability canceling, your movement ability canceling here. If you're a boss,
I walk in endless silence.
You're on top of the obelix, and everyone knows if you finish the map on top of the obelix, you're the winner. That's how it works. Whoops. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Those were the tips I had on standby for the Convocation of Decay. I know it would have been useful with some gameplay as well, but I've sort of been working through the night, and now it's almost afternoon here. And I don't think now is the time for that. I have plenty of playthroughs on the channel. If you're looking for a Convocation, you want to see how it's done, then I'm sure if you just search on my channel for Convocation, there's gonna be some gameplay footage if that's what you want to see. But other than that, I just hope you guys enjoyed the video, learned something new. Let me know which one we should do next down in the comments below, or otherwise I'll just take whichever got second most on the poll. And as always, I love you guys. Stay awesome. Peace out. Internet corona, guys. Internet corona. It's gonna kill us all. Ah!